Americans are leaving this country in record numbers. And I'm not talking about vacation. I'm talking packing their bags, booking their flights, and leaving for good. In the first few months of 2025 alone, the amount of people that just said, I'm done, and moved abroad doubled from the year before. That's not just a blip, okay? That's a wave. So why? Same reasons you and I complain about every day. Cost of living going through the roof, political chaos that never seems to end, and the fear of safety even when you're just going to the grocery store. But here's the thing, it's not just dreamers or millionaires doing it. It's normal people. It's people with families. It's young people, old people, retirees, people who are working remote. One common thread holding all of these people together is they just want a dignified life. That's why you're seeing places like Greece, Spain, France, Portugal. Their cafes are filling up with Americans who are just done. People love to scream, if you don't like it, leave. Well, we are, thousands and thousands of us. We will be joining that wave soon. If you're curious about moving abroad, stick around, because we're about to embark on this journey ourselves, and we can't wait. At the end of the day, people like us just want to make life work. And if we think that we can do that better outside of this country, then who's to say we can't?
Y'all want to know one real reason why America's crashing out like crazy right now? Mediocrity don't hit like it used to, baby. See, once upon a time in America, you could be real mid and still thrive. Mediocre effort, boom, you get a house, car, annual vacation, pension, hell, maybe even a boat. You could clock in, coast through the week, grill on Sundays, and still retire with dignity. But that era is dead and gone, baby. And instead of leveling up or adapting, they're mad, they're bitter, and they're not even blaming the billionaires. They blaming you. They have the audacity to blame me. They blaming immigrants, black people, queer folk, anyone they think is taking something that used to be theirs by default. See, they don't want equality. They want comfort. And when mediocrity no longer gets them that comfort, they start rewriting the rules to rig the game again. It ain't about fairness. It's about preserving the lie. The lie that being average should still be enough for them.
I am leaving the United States of America. A lot of people ask me why. There isn't just one reason. In fact, I used to think there was more reasons pulling me to the place that I'm going versus reasons that were pushing me out. However, this has kind of changed a lot in just the past few years. I'll talk about one reason here today. The biggest reason is I don't see a future for myself here anymore. I play music professionally. I do gigs at bars and restaurants. I sing songs, and it's awesome. I've never had to have a big boy job, right? But 5 years ago, I did this 4 to 5 times a week, and I had enough money to pay my mortgage, pay all my bills, and at the end of the month, actually have extra to save and invest, and things were good. Over the course of just the past 5 years, this has changed drastically. I am actually making more money now, but I have way less money at the end of the month because all my expenses have gone up drastically. Groceries doubled. My utilities and energy bills up 60-70%. My mortgage went up. Every conceivable expense that I have has increased drastically. And I know my story isn't unique. Everyone's cost of living has risen, including around the world. This isn't just an America problem. But where I'm living in Tampa, Florida, the cost of living has gotten so dramatically expensive, it's just not feasible anymore. I saw an article saying in my city you have to make $111,000 a year just to live comfortably, which I don't have a single friend my age that makes that. It's just not feasible, especially not for me. 2-3 years ago when things were expensive and the prices were going up, I used to think, well, it's going to get better, things will come back around, the prices will go back down, and things will go back to normal. But month after month, year after year of things not improving, and no one is really coming to help us, and nothing's going to change, I don't know what to think anymore. The only option is to leave. We all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I'm living every single day here over and over again, expecting it to get better, and it's not. So the way I see it, I have 3 options.
All right, Tribe. Now, at this particular point, the American dream is proving to be very, expensive for the average person. And people are just tired of working. 3 jobs, that is, just to survive. And they want peace. And they want stability. They want a life that doesn't feel like, a constant struggle. But in 2025, that struggle has only gotten worse. And rent is rising, groceries are biting harder, and even the dream of owning a home feels like chasing a smoke. And that's why more Americans are beginning, to say maybe the dream isn't worth anymore. But let's talk about the facts. So in the year 2025, the average cost of living in major US, cities is at its highest in over a decade. And of course, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that inflation may have slowed, but prices haven't come down yet. Rent, food, healthcare, and energy remain painfully high. Owning a home, a two-bedroom rather apartment, first of all, in cities like New York or Los Angeles, can easily cost over, above $3,500 in a month. And even in smaller towns, the rise in rent is forcing people to move back home or live with roommates well into their 30s, something that never used to be. Owning a home, that's a luxury now. Mortgage rates have doubled since a few years ago, and hidden costs like insurance and repairs can add up to $20,000 a year beyond the mortgage itself. So the average American is working more but owning less, and that's a dangerous trend. Because of this, Americans are starting to rethink otherwise. We are seeing a new wave of people living in the big cities, escaping to smaller towns, cheaper states, or even other countries altogether. So some are moving to Texas, Tennessee, and the Midwest, where rent is half the price and life is a little bit, slower. And others are going international to Mexico, Portugal, Thailand, Costa Rica, chasing not wealth but well-being. It's what people online are calling the soft life movement. The soft life movement. Now, working remotely, living simply, and choosing happiness over hustle. So it's about these guys that I've put together, courtesy of the creators, the videos that I've put together here. Me and you, we're going to watch, and of course, we're going to make our thoughts towards the end of it. And if you feel compelled, do drop us your comments on the comment section of what exactly your thoughts would be. And see you at the end of it, as we usually do it here.
I can change it, I can leave it, or I can accept it. I can't change it. We all have one vote, and we voted, and things are what they are right now, right? I can accept it and live in a permanent state of tolerable unhappiness, but that really doesn't seem like a way to live life. I'd rather thrive than just survive. Or I can leave it. And out of the three options I presented here today, I think leaving it is my only option, really. So my girlfriend and I are leaving. We are moving out of the country because we don't see a future here anymore, which is super exciting. We're excited to try a new chapter of our lives. It's also a little sad that we have to leave because things have gotten so bad here. But, I guess that's just life. Maybe I'll touch on more reasons why we're leaving specifically in future videos, and maybe even more reasons why we're going to the place we're going, because there's a lot of positivity in this as well. If you find this interesting, stick around. You might enjoy my content, and I don't think I'm alone in this. Okay, I think the American dream we were all promised is a lie. Or maybe it was true at one point, but not in 2025. Not anymore. America is collapsing before our very eyes. Restaurants are closing their doors for good in my city at a record pace. They're blaming it on a slow season, but I think it's something else. You can't tell me the amount of abandoned strip malls that I drive by on a daily basis is normal. I know you've seen it too. All these places just get replaced with the Capybara Cafe de Jour or a flower store to placate the masses, if you know what I mean. There used to be 24-hour diners, family-owned restaurants, even bookstores, I don't know, third spaces. Now, nothing. Luxury apartments that sit vacant forever. Grocery stores that have been closed for 10 years. So much wasted space in empty parking lots until some TikTok trend comes, opens for 6 months, and then that closes too. I know I'm not alone in this, but yet every single time I bring it up, I get all the bots in my comments telling me the economy's never been better. But I ask for who? Like 100 people at the top? So the billionaires are doing great. I don't care. People like you and me, we're struggling out here. All my friends live in vans. And if we are lucky enough to have apartments or houses, we're living behind locked doors and closed blinds because there's no community here anymore. Restaurants are just the beginning. They're the canary in the coal mine. Once they're gone, so are all of our meeting places, our birthday parties, our community, and third spaces. They're not just a place to buy food. They're a pulse of the neighborhood. And also, as a live singer, something hugely important to my job. I used to sing 5 nights a week. Now I'm lucky if I can find a Sunday night gig. So I'm just here to say, if this is what a booming economy sounds like, it must be the sound of doors slamming shut. And I don't know about you, but I'm making my exit plan. We're moving to Portugal soon, where they still have cafes and restaurants that people actually go to. If you find that interesting, stick around. Because I can tell you this is not normal. And don't let internet comments gaslight you into thinking it is. Living in America has gotten insane. And I'm not just talking about vibes. I'm talking about your wallet, your health, and your sanity. Owning a house has become a pipe dream for the majority of Americans. We're dependent on cars, and it costs an arm and a leg to get anywhere. And don't even get me started on healthcare. The state I live in, finding a doctor is like finding gold. And that's if you have insurance and you can pay for it. And for what? The US ranks dead last in healthcare outcomes among developed countries. Dead last. All my comments to say America's the best. Not in this. We are last in this. And it's not just the money. It's the burnout. It's the wages. It's the hustle culture. It's all of these things added together. Throw in some political chaos every single day, and I'm looking around and I know I'm not the only one thinking this isn't sustainable. That's why more and more people are moving abroad. They want to live somewhere where going to the doctor isn't having a mini panic attack, where life isn't just surviving till Friday, where you don't have to prove 3 times rent. It's why a lot of Americans are asking, is this worth staying? For a lot of people, me included, the answer is no. We are moving abroad next year. If you're curious what that life looks like, stick around. Because at the end of the day, people like you and me are just looking for lives of dignity. And right now, we don't have that.
Let's keep it real. Retirement in America is not a plan anymore. That's actually a fairy tale. Retirement used to be the default. You know, you would work, you'd save, you hit a certain age, and then boom, you could sit your ass down somewhere. That was the whole deal. But now retirement is actually a luxury item. It's Gucci, it's Prada. Now it's only something rich people can afford. For everybody else, the new normal is working until your last breath. Punching the clock until they roll you out of that building in a box. I want y'all, listen, don't get it twisted, because none of this is by accident. The system wants you to work until you die. Why? Well, because if you never stop working, then the system never stops running. Your body breaks down, your mind gets tired, but the machine keeps winning. Think about it. Your whole life you've been sold a dream. Work hard, save your money. One day you'll be able to retire. Meanwhile, wages are stagnant, 401ks are a joke, Social Security is shaky, and the cost of living keeps eating every single dollar that you make. The dream has expired, but they still want you to clock in every morning like you're chasing it. It's generational too. It's not just you, your kids, same deal. They're going to work all the way into the end until they have no more life left. So the next time somebody asks you when you plan to retire, this is what I want you to tell them. Retire? Baby, I'm on that work till you die plan. That's the new American dream. The American dream is so dead, people don't even want to pass it on to their own kids. I read an article about how this is the hugest decline, right, in Americans having children. Americans are not having enough children for the first time in history to replace, themselves, right? But why would somebody bring children into this world, in America specifically? Why would you purposely have a baby in America? Why would a woman even do that? You don't have any control over your body. Government has ultimate control over your vessel. Hell, government will even keep you alive as a host when you're dead, just to make sure it can force you to give birth to that baby. So I don't see the benefit for women, frankly, to have babies. America is not a place for families. It's obviously not a place for families. It's not set up that way. They tax families into oblivion. So why would you sign up for that? So no, that's why people aren't having babies. America, if you want young people to have babies, how about you make this economy affordable? Because right now it's not. It's really set up just for rich people to have babies. So go have the rich women. Oh, that's right. They don't want to have rich women have a whole bunch of babies because their kids are not going to work in factories and stuff. It's supposed to be our kids work in factories. Like I said, that's why people are not having kids. Why the hell would we have kids? Why would anybody have kids in this environment? Why would anybody have kids in this environment? It's not a good environment for children. So kudos to the young folk. If you smart, keep your dress down and your panties up.
Spot on, and here's why. First, the numbers are accurate. The Federal Reserve data shows the top 10% control about 67 to 69% of the U.S. wealth, and the top 1% hold about a third. And the bottom 50% just 2.5. That is a staggering inequality. But the crux of your argument, this is key. When you say historically, when wealth gaps grow too large, the current government fails. So history backs up what you said. When inequality grows to extremes, societies get unstable. Sometimes it's revolution, like France in 1789. Other times it's a slow collapse. Democracy's backsliding, elites turning on one another, coups, civil unrest, whatever. Whatever things governments don't like happening. But here is the thing. It's not really about the rich versus the poor. The real danger comes when that wealth divide lines up with identity and politics. That's when polarization explodes, trust collapses, and governments lose legitimacy. Sound familiar, America? So yes, your numbers are right, and the warning is real. Inequality doesn't always topple governments, but if a government ignores it long enough, history is clear. The government is in trouble and has a good chance of failing. America has a problem no one wants to admit. It just doesn't produce enough highly skilled, intelligent workers to stay on top in technology. So for decades, the U.S. has filled this gap by bringing in the best and brightest from around the world. But Trump just slammed the door on that. On Friday, Trump announced a shocking new policy. Companies will have to pay $100,000 per visa to hire foreign tech talent. That is not a typo. $100,000. Amazon alone brought in 10,000 highly skilled workers last year under these visas, in part because it just couldn't find enough Americans that were smart enough to fill the positions. This move will cost tech companies millions, crush startups, push jobs out of the U.S. to places like India and Canada. And who do you think is going to pay this extra $1 billion fee? That's just for Amazon alone. It won't be Amazon or other corporations. It will be American consumers. Exactly the opposite of Trump's claim to increase employment in America, but consistent with his policies to weaken the U.S. and crash the economy. And there's more about this at culturalperspective.com. Americans have to stop believing the Trump Republican propaganda and start looking at what is actually happening. Make your own decisions. Stop letting the politicians tell you what to believe, because this policy will drain innovation, productivity, and crush the very sector that drives the U.S. economy. It is strategic sabotage of the U.S. Why do you think Trump is doing this? The US dollar is collapsing, and it's a direct result of the Trump Republican regime's policies that are gutting the US economy from the inside out. So here's what's happening. And stay with me because the plot thickens towards the end. The dollar just went through one of the steepest 6-month drops in history. And yes, I said history, not the last 5 years, not the last decade, not the last 50 years. In history, it's down 11%. It's stabilized for now, but experts say this is just a pause before the next crash, because Trump's trade war and reckless spending have left America with twin deficits, a massive trade deficit and a huge federal budget deficit. It's like bleeding from two wounds at once. Stabilizing one wound only slows the death process. And follow for more at Cultural Analysis and culturalperspective.com, because understanding why this is happening is the first step in protecting yourself. Here's the cultural problem. The Trump regime sees power as a zero-sum game. They believe America must win by forcing others to lose. So they impose tariffs and punish foreign governments that hold U.S. debt. So predictably, the global investors are now pulling money out of U.S. assets. And when they sell off the dollar, it sinks even further. The Federal Reserve faces a weakening job market because of Trump is cutting rates. Lower rates mean even less attractive dollars worldwide. It's a spiral caused by the Trump Republican regime. So why are they doing this? And this is where the plot thickens. Manufacturing can't come back to America if the dollar stays strong. So Trump is weakening the dollar. The same America First policies that sound patriotic are actually designed to devalue American currency, which will devalue savings and devalue retirement accounts. So what happens to manufacturing if the dollar keeps falling? Nothing, because America doesn't manufacture anymore. Economies evolve through 6 stages of development: farming, industrial, manufacturing, services, knowledge and digital, and finally, sustainable economies. The US is already at stage 5, while places like the EU and China are moving towards stage 6. So no one talks about taking America back to stage 1, farming. It is a ridiculous idea. So why try and drag it all the way back to stage 3, factories? People don't want to work factory jobs anymore, and advanced economies never move backwards. And that's why Trump's plan to revive U.S. manufacturing is just stupid. You can't reverse decades of economic evolution, but you can destroy an economy and make everyone poor. And that is exactly what Trump and the Republican regime is doing. What are your thoughts on this?
It's just straight up too expensive to live in the United States of America, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Hi, I'm Zach. I've kept a budget down to the penny for the past 5 years. And this is what I've spent this month on some of the things that you need to just exist. Let's start with energy. I want you to let me know how much you pay a month for your electric bill. All right, ready? Drum roll, please. This month I spent $242. It's summertime in Florida. It's hot. It's expensive. The AC's running. I keep my house at 78 degrees during the day. I turn off all the lights when I'm not using them. I have LED lights. All of the stuff you're supposed to do. I'm closing my blinds during the day. Everything possibly you could do right. And I just had my highest bill of all time. Checking out my electric bill from September 2020, I paid $139.47. Huh. Okay, so that's almost doubled. All right, how about utilities? I want you to let me know how much you pay for utilities a month, your water bill, your garbage. All right, drum roll please, 3, 2, 1. I paid $219.77. Just as a frame of reference, in September of 2020, my water bill was $128.09. So that's doubled in 5 years. That's cool. Internet. Everybody loves internet. I needed to post on TikTok. This past month, I spent $84.99. What did you spend this month on internet? I can tell you what I paid September 2020, 5 years ago. I paid $54.68. That's cool. It's gone up 60%-ish in 5 years. That's fine. So all in all, between my utilities, my energy, and my internet, I am paying $527 and change a month. And I'm sure my story isn't unique. I'm sure you're watching this saying, yes, the same thing with me. I'm paying way too much every month. This isn't sustainable. I know that prices have gone up all around the world, 100%. I just feel like where I live specifically, we've gone into crazy town. No one can pay this. No one can afford this. I'd love to hear what you're paying a month for all these things and where you live in the world, because I need to know if I'm crazy or if I'm not alone in feeling this way.
Yeah, it's a huge cultural change. Trump has done something remarkable in a really short time. He's flipped this core aspect of American culture, universalism and particularism. These terms sound abstract, but they're really pretty simple. So in a universalist culture, rules and laws and opportunity apply equally to everyone. I mean, ideally. That's the America that most of the world knew. America from the end of World War II until Trump. And so for one example, if you're speeding and a police officer pulls you over, ideally, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're the chief of police brother-in-law, you still get a ticket. Now, obviously, it wasn't perfect, but the expectation in America during this time was fairness. If you break a law, there's a consequence, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are. The law is equal to everyone. Universalist rules. In a particularist culture, the rules depend on who you are and the situation. So in the ticket example, the average driver gets a ticket, but the chief's son-in-law doesn't. And the police officer might even have to apologize for pulling him over. Even at the highest levels in a universalist culture, it meant that if you were, say, president of the United States and you sent some people to break into your opponent's headquarters at, say, the Watergate, and you get discovered, you're going to be prosecuted. And of course, this is what happens. And yes, that showed that the American system wasn't perfect. But what it really showed was that the American ideal of equality, of universalism, went to the highest levels. And please don't get me wrong, in no way is or was America equal to all of its citizens. But that incident did show that even the president of the United States had to follow the law. That's universalism. And then we got Trump. Trump has changed that. Now he's using the law to prosecute those he doesn't agree with. Those he doesn't agree with on a personal level, like Adam Schiff, Senator Adam Schiff. And not prosecute those who have clearly violated the law by taking, say, $50,000 in cash from an undercover FBI agent, like Horman. That is classic particularism. The law applies to you harshly, my enemy, but not to you at all, my dear friend. And I think this is the deep question Americans have to ask themselves. Do you want to live in a universalist culture where you know clearly what the rules are and you for everyone? Or do you want to live in a particularist culture where you don't really know what the rules are because they apply differently to everyone, where you're not sure what's safe to do and what's not to do.
When I am outside of America, I am shocked at how much of a bubble we all live in. So many people, when I tell them I'm from America, their first response was, I'm sorry. I'm from Florida, and that is like the bubble inside of the bubble. Let me paint a picture for you. The prevailing fashion trend in my state is to wear political clothing, and it's always the politics that is really bad. I feel like I'm on an island down there. I am not surrounded by like-minded people, and I can't wait to make my exit plan. Me and my girlfriend are moving to Portugal together ASAP, and it cannot happen soon enough. Totally get there are closed-minded people everywhere, and that is just a fact of life, but it just super feels like right now in the States, it is getting worse or more prevalent. And when I tell people that we are leaving the country, a lot of times in Florida, they get really defensive. They're like, why would you ever want to leave the States? What's wrong with you? It's dangerous in Portugal. You can't go there. Side note, Portugal is the 7th safest country in the world, and the US ranks way lower on that list. Not having to scan for exits when you're in a public place is such a sigh of relief, but that's for another video. In fact, most people I tell that I'm moving to Portugal don't even know where it is on the map. So it's okay to look outside the bubble. Okay, life doesn't have to be scary. Moving to another country doesn't have to be scary.
Welcome back, tribe. So the truth is that the Americans are tired of being told to work harder when the system keeps moving the goalposts. And they realize that the burnout isn't just personal failure, it's a design flaw. And for decades, the American dream was sold as a promise: work hard, get educated, buy a home and live comfortably. But today, people are working hard and still can't afford groceries, healthcare, or even rent. So now, instead of chasing the old dream, they are rewriting it. So the new dream is peace, it's health, it's time with family, it is rest. And of course, the message to 2025, if the system doesn't change, the people will, and they already are. And people are creating their own balance. And they are turning side hustles into full-time, living abroad, growing their own food, homeschooling their own kids, and of course, redefining success. And this movement isn't loud. It's quiet but powerful. It's people refusing to let the system crush them. And it is the quiet quitting. And the relocation, the digital nomad life. And of course, all signs that Americans are walking away from the pressure. So maybe the American dream isn't dead. It's just evolving. It's no longer about owning everything. It's about owning your peace. Something that I love at this particular point. And if there is one lesson in this year teaching us, it is this: that you don't have to stay in a system that drains you. You can choose differently. You can live differently. But because survival shouldn't be this hard in one of the richest nations on earth. So, this is my refrain. If the system doesn't change, the people will, and they already are. I go by Sherlock. If you bumped across the particular channel accidentally about a thumbs up, thumbs up. A thumbs up will put a very nice smile on my face. A tiny little comment on the comment section, guys. And above all, I just want to, salute you, my new followers, and they already, subscribed followers. Kudos, a very big, big up to you guys out there, because all this particular fight has been about you. And see you in the next one.